Imagine a team so unwanted that bookmakers gave them worse odds to win the league than aliens landing on Earth that same year. That team didn't just win it, they made the entire football world question everything it thought it knew about money, power, and glory. In the summer of 2015, Leicester City had just crawled away from relegation. They survived by winning 7 of their last 9 matches the previous season, a desperate escape that felt more like luck than promise. Almost nobody expected anything more from them. Their new manager, Claudio Ranieri, had just been fired from the Greek national team job after a humiliating loss to the Faroe Islands, a nation with fewer people than a single football stadium holds. When Leicester announced him as their new boss, one former England striker publicly called the decision absolutely bizarre. Newspapers ran headlines mocking the move. Nobody, not even Leicester's own fans, believed this was the start of a miracle. But Ranieri wasn't chasing superstars. He was quietly assembling a team of forgotten players, cheap gambles, and rejects that bigger clubs had overlooked. Jamie Vardy, Leicester's future top scorer, wasn't even a professional footballer at age 20. He was working in a factory producing medical splints by day and playing part-time football for Stocksbridge Park Steels, a club so small most fans have never heard its name. Leicester eventually signed him from non-league football for roughly £1 million, a fee that barely registers in modern transfer markets. Riyad Mahrez arrived from Le Havre, a struggling French second division club, for under £500,000. English scouts barely knew his name. N'Golo Kanté was signed from French side Caen for about £7 million, a number so small that within 2 years, rival clubs were calling it one of the single greatest transfer bargains in football history. None of these players had ever won a major trophy. None had tasted Champions League football. Pundits openly predicted Leicester would spend the season fighting off relegation again, not fighting for anything close to a title. One prominent broadcaster ranked Leicester as favorites to go straight back down. Then the season began and something impossible started happening. Leicester didn't just survive matches against the Giants, they destroyed them. In November, they thrashed Manchester United 5-3 in a match so wild that even United's own fans applauded the visitors off the pitch. Weeks later, they beat Chelsea, the reigning Premier League champions, on their own turf. By December, Leicester sat top of the table and the football world assumed it was a fairy tale about to collapse under Christmas pressure. It never collapsed. Kanté was covering more distance per match than almost any midfielder in Europe, appearing in 2 places at once, breaking up attacks before they could even form. One Chelsea legend later joked there were actually 2 Kantés on the pitch because no single human could realistically be that effective. Vardy, meanwhile, kept scoring. He found the net in 11 consecutive Premier League matches, smashing a scoring record that had survived since the days of Ruud van Nistelrooy, a striker many considered one of the greatest finishers the league had ever seen. Mahrez glided past defenders with a mix of flair and unpredictability nobody had scouted from the French second division. By February, he was being talked about as one of the most exciting wingers on the planet. A stunning transformation for a player almost nobody in England could pronounce correctly a year earlier. Ranieri kept the mood light through it all. He famously promised his squad a pizza party every time they kept a clean sheet, a lighthearted gesture that turned into a running joke across the entire league. There was no fear of failure inside that Leicester dressing room because nobody outside it expected them to succeed in the first place. That freedom from pressure became one of their most dangerous weapons. By March, Leicester was still on top and the mockery had completely disappeared. Broadcasters from around the world sent camera crews to a training ground far smaller and far less funded than the multi-million-pound facilities used by Manchester City or Chelsea. Leicester's entire squad wage bill for that season was smaller than what some rival clubs spent on a single individual superstar's yearly salary. Tension built with every passing week. Leicester dropped points here and there, giving hope to doubters that the collapse was finally coming. It never did. On the 2nd of May 2016, without even playing a match that night, Leicester City were confirmed as Premier League champions. Their closest rivals, Tottenham Hotspur, needed a win against Chelsea to keep the race alive and instead could only draw 2 goals apiece. Leicester players watched the final whistle from a teammate's living room, and the moment it was confirmed, wild celebrations erupted in a house instead of a stadium, an image that became one of the most iconic in modern football history. Bookmakers who had priced Leicester at 5,000 to 1 before the season began were forced to pay out on one of the largest upsets in the entire history of organized sport, sitting alongside shocks like a 1,500 to 1 horse race winner. Some payouts reportedly ran into millions of pounds combined across every bettor who had taken the wild gamble at the start of the season. Vardy, the factory worker turned champion, earned a call-up to the England national team and later had his incredible rise turned into a major feature film watched by millions worldwide. Conte went even further, becoming a World Cup winner with France just 2 years later, cementing his place as one of the most complete midfielders of his generation. Mahrez eventually left for Manchester City, where he added even more trophies to a collection nobody predicted he would ever have. Ranieri, the manager once mocked for losing to a nation smaller than a stadium, was voted League Managers Association Manager of the Year by the very managers who understood exactly how impossible his achievement truly was. To this day, no club assembled with a similarly modest combined transfer value has ever won the Premier League, and in the years since, none have even come close. What makes Leicester's triumph even more staggering is the King Power Stadium itself, a ground that held barely 32,000 fans, tiny compared to the giant arenas of their competition, yet it became the loudest, proudest home in English football that season. If Leicester's story proves anything, it's that the players nobody wanted, led by the manager nobody believed in, can end up writing the ending nobody in football ever saw coming. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on that bell so you never miss a story like this one, and drop a comment telling me which part shocked you the most.